What comes to your mind when you saw or hear the word political scandals? Is it intense, crucial, and awful? Or is it clickbait, whose main purpose is to attract attention and to publicize irrelevant information? Well, political scandals are sort of an emblem or nature of such a political system and a bureaucracy. Let me tell you one intriguing headline from Rapper News titled Controversies Thrill the Bolsinas, Manyanita to Unresolved Killings. It is a well-known fact that everyone knows who is the Bolsinas, a violator of quarantine protocol who gets to be appointed as a new PNP chief way back 2020, while ordinary Filipinos violating the same protocol are being mocked and imprisoned. This controversial issue is one of the underlying concerns of our nation, which fails to vigorously criticize and condemn those who are in power. The promotion of the lawbreaker Sinas is a massive insult to the Filipino people who've had to survive with the government's rules and policies, while those in power and authority are excluded from the same rules. Given this circumstance, let us bear in mind that the appointment clearly defines a government that supports and encourages notorious violators. That is why I would like to elaborate on the Latin maxim, Dura lex sed lex. Second, why is no one should be above the law? And finally, how can we further empower a system of governance free from immorality? The Latin maxim in its complex manner may be difficult to abide by, but as long as it's the law, even if it's biased, unreasonable, and overbearing, it remains. In the world of politics, we are aware that it is possible to manipulate the judicial process and the legal system of our country. With the right amount of money, they can easily plant evidence and anyone can be falsely persecuted. For instance, is the case of Rachel Mariano, an indigenous member of Ibaloy Kankanae, who was imprisoned for 11 months and 2 weeks and was wrongfully accused of murder and attempted murder. Can you imagine the pain and distress of being incarcerated for a crime you didn't commit? Just by the thought of it, you'll realize that there are other Rachel who are being framed and wrongfully convicted. From this perspective, we can discern that there is an absence of choice and that there is no other alternative but to accept the fact that the law is harsh, but it is the law. As a Filipino citizen, our government system is divided into 3 branches: the executive, legislative, and judiciary, which operates in their limited functions independently. All laws are established and represented by the Philippine Constitution. The Constitution is an instrument that embodies all basic principles and laws of a nation, and people are subjected to obey it. If no one respects the law, then what is the substance of it? Let's say, for example, some politicians who are involved in a political scandal. There is Kiko Pimentel, who is associated for a home quarantine breach scandal for leaving his house premises after being tested positive for the COVID virus. If you would relate this issue to an ordinary person like Joey Severino, a journalist who was arrested after removing his mask to take a drink, you'll see a big difference. And that disparity is a huge conflict of the country's law and order. In these instances, the basic premise of the government of laws and not of men is being questioned by its credibility and relevancy, because those in power are the only ones who can survive from being punished. Furthermore, we can empower a system of governance free from immorality by encouraging the youth to vote wisely for the upcoming 2022 elections. In that case, we can have a competent leader who is smart enough to implement laws for the betterment of our society and who has a heart for the oppressed and marginalized poor. As Pantaleon Alvarez said, the former Speaker of the House of Representatives 2016 to 2018, if we make the wrong choice of the president come 2022, it will not be COVID who will kill our people, it will be bad governance. We cannot have a president who will do OJT after he is elected. We need a leader who knows what must be done and who will keep the ground running. As demonstrated, you will realize the essentiality of political stability and peace and order. You will completely understand how the law is crucial and vital, and how the law can protect those in power. The government of laws and not of men must be interpreted as no one is above the law, because the law extends equally to all without regard of despair and prejudices.